Hello and welcome to the Golden Playbook. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be releasing my updated rankings with tiers included. And yes, I did my initial rankings back in March when the 2024 season was fresh and in our minds, but now a lot of things have changed. Free agency, NFL draft. So we're slowly figuring out what guys' roles are going to be for their team and what kind of fantasy value they can bring in the 2025 season. With that being said, make sure you smash the subscribe button and hit the little notification bell so you can see when a new ranking video drops. Without further ado, we're going to hop straight into our wide receiver rankings today. As you can see, I don't have the typical A, B, C, D tiers. I will explain those as I go. And I also want to explain that if a player is in the same tier as another player, although I may have a lean to one guy or the other, they're generally in the same range for me. Meaning if you felt strongly over CeeDee Lamb over Amon-Ra St. Brown or vice versa, I'm not gonna argue that too hard. I view them as similar tiered players. So I just wanna get out in front and say, just because a guy's face is before another one's face, if a guy is in the same tier group as another, I value them pretty much the same, okay? All right, let's finally hop into it. And our first tier is the GOATs tier, obviously. And these have the two mainstays of fantasy football at this position, Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson. I'm going to try to keep it brief on these guys. I don't want this to be a 35 minute video. So Ja'Marr is obviously coming out the wide receiver one season. Not much has changed. It seems Cincinnati does not care about defense whatsoever. So they're going to be trying to win games by putting up 45 points, which is going to be a lot of fantasy points for Ja'Marr Chase. And then Justin Jefferson also finds himself in this GOATs tier. We have seen year in, year out, it does not matter who's playing quarterback for him. Kevin O'Connell is going to get him the rock, get him open. He is obviously an excellent player. Ja'Marr Chase is probably clearly the number one, but I put Jefferson up in this GOATs category as well, just because of the uncertainty with McCarthy at quarterback.
Hello everyone, sorry for the interruption. Make sure you smash the subscribe button down below. It's the one that says subscribe on it. Thank you guys.
My next tier is the Alpha Dogs tier, and I like to throw this term around a lot, but really what it means is this player will be a mainstay for you. A clear wide receiver one, going to be the staple of your wide receiver room. You don't have to think about it. More than likely, he's going to get you 20 points per game or close to it. And I actually have 7 guys in this tier. I feel like this tier is a little bit bigger for me than it is for others. But I have CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas, and Drake London in this tier. Starting with CeeDee Lamb, I feel like people forgot just how good Lamb is when Dak is healthy. They are just absolute one of the top 3 connections in the NFL. I feel like people are kind of forgetting because Cooper Rush finished the season as quarterback for them last season, just how dominant Lamb is. I think he's due for a very good bounce back season. As for Malik Neighbors, I think he has the talent to be in the GOATs tier. It's just the uncertainty at quarterback for me and potential to be a bad offense in New York. Obviously, in my opinion, it's a better quarterback room than he had last year, and he fared just fine. But between Russ, Jameis, Jackson Dart, I think Malik Neighbors is going to get 150 targets. Should be an absolute stud. PPR, standard, all formats. Same goes for Puka Nacua. Obviously, they brought Devontae Adams over. But honestly, I don't think that affects Puka's status whatsoever. Remains in this alpha dog tier for me. I think his target share will be consistent. And I think it'll just be another stud receiver to take some pressure off of Puka Nacua. And we've seen Matthew Stafford absolutely loves his guy, Puka. Moving on, we got Nico Collins, obviously the alpha dog in Houston. And I'm expecting a little bit of a Houston bounce back, CJ Stroud bounce back. We just need Nico to stay healthy. Obviously, he missed a big chunk with the hamstring injury, which kind of put a damper on his season. He was absolutely thriving at the beginning of the year. But I expect much of the same for Nico as long as he can stay healthy. And then for one of the most consistent guys that everyone's getting bored of, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just consistent top 3 wide receiver finishes the last few years. The only thing that's changed is Ben Johnson leaving. I'm not expecting it to be too big a hit on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think his skill set and his role is one of those things that will go unchanged. He'll get his target share. We just need to see if the touchdowns will remain as high as they were last season. But I'm expecting more of the same out of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then Brian Thomas heading into his sophomore season. Really needing Trevor Lawrence to take a jump for this to kind of stay true. Obviously, Jacksonville added Travis Hunter in the draft. I think it'll only help Brian Thomas, and I think it'll complement his skill set very well. I'm expecting big things out of BTJ. And then last guy in the Alpha Dogs tier, Drake London. I feel like I'm higher on Drake London than a lot of people are. I think he's a consistently underrated, slept-on guy. His target share in the last few games with Penix last season were unreal. I know Penix wants to get this guy the ball. And a lot of people don't view London as the talent that the rest of these alpha dogs are. But I think he's right in this range with them. I think he has all the opportunity in the world. Not much target share to go around. Pitts, Mooney, they're running back the same offense from last season. And we saw what he can do with that. So I'm really expecting big things out of Drake London this season to round out my alpha dogs tier. Our next tier is the Verge. And what I mean by that is they're on the verge of being wide receiver ones. You're feeling really, really good about your team if this is your wide receiver two. But if they are your wide receiver one, you're feeling pretty good about it. These guys are still studs, still have pretty clear roles. They're just not quite in the alpha dogs tier for me. And that is T. Higgins, Ladd McConkey, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown. Starting with T, same explanation as Jamar, right? The Cincy offense is going to have to put a ton of points to stay in games this season, as they're basically giving up on defense already. And Chase and Higgins are the clear benefactors of that. So T. Higgins, if he was the number one on his team, would definitely be in the alpha dogs. But he's the wide receiver too, so he finds himself in the Verge. Next up is Ladd. And Ladd is honestly the guy I feel safest about in this tier. Probably just like from a consistency and a floor ceiling combination standpoint. I think he's going to be a PPR stud. The only downfall I have, I feel like Los Angeles wants to be a run-first team. But we saw what Ladd did at the end of last season. Him and Justin Herbert's connection was pretty unreal. And I think he has clearly solidified his spot in the slot. It can also go outside. I think he's just very versatile for the Chargers. And I think he's one of the safer picks in fantasy football this season. As for a not-so-safe pick, Tyreek Hill. But it's still Tyreek Hill at the end of the day. I know the Miami offense has been very, very shaky. All they're seeing is cover twos. Two is not knowing what to do with the football, kind of limiting Tyreek Hill's skill set. But I think deep down in my heart that Miami can get back to what they were. And in that first year with McDaniels and Tua and Tyreek, I definitely think Tyreek has the skill set and opportunity to be the number one wide receiver overall, which you can't say for a lot of guys. Although it is definitely a long shot, I think Tyreek, if things broke right, could easily be the wide receiver one in fantasy football. Last guy in this tier, A.J. Brown. Only reason he's not an alpha dog is because of the offense he's in. And it's really a shame. A.J. Brown is such a good talent, man. And he has found himself in run-heavy offenses his whole career. First in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, and now in Philly with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. He's just not going to get the passing volume that we want and we need for A.J. Brown. It's truly, truly a shame. But he's still such a good talent that he finds himself in this Verge category. He can have spike weeks, no problem. My only concern is what's the floor if Philly's only passing the ball 20 to 25 times a game. Really a shame for A.J. Brown, but he rounds out our Verge category. And this next tier is my biggest tier of my top 36 receivers. And this is the WR2 Poster Boys. These are guys like, if you went to the dictionary, look up wide receiver twos, all these guys' names pop in there. They all have pretty predictable roles. There's only just one or two things that are dragging them down a little bit from the top three tiers. And these guys include Rashee Rice, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Devontae Adams, JSN, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton. I'll try to be brief with these guys because I know it's a lot. Starting with Rashee, if he plays like he did at the beginning of last season, he could easily be in the Verge or Alpha Dog category. However, he's obviously coming off the serious knee injury that ended his season last year. Also, he has the legal troubles that we have to see if he's getting suspended or not, or if it'll be pushed off another year. So a couple concerns with Rashee Rice, but obviously he's attached to Patrick Mahomes in that Kansas City offense, and he's proven to be his go-to guy when healthy and on the field. So Rashee's upside when on the field is very high. Next up, DJ Moore, expecting Chicago to take that leap with Ben Johnson. Can DJ Moore have an Amon-Ra St. Brown type role? I don't know if he's that talented with that skill set, but I expect a little bit of leap in production for DJ Moore. There's just a lot of receiving options in Chicago. And yes, we're predicting DJ Moore to be the top target getter. But what if things shook up and Rome becomes that guy? Just a little bit of question marks around DJ Moore. Still a very safe wide receiver too. Next up, Garrett Wilson. And this is a guy who I feel is just very talented. Just hasn't found himself in the correct role. But with that being said, I think he's in line for a huge target share. Even with Justin Fields at quarterback, I know the Jets are going to be run first, but Fields really likes to pepper his number one target, just as DJ Moore from the Chicago days. So I think Garrett Wilson will be in line for lots of volume this season. Whether it's quality volume or not, is to be determined, but I think lots of volume nonetheless. Next up, Marvin Harrison Jr. This is a guy I'm very bullish on this season. I feel like people are writing him off so hard because of his rookie season. But listen, this is a guy who is undoubtedly number one in his class coming out. He would undoubtedly be number one receiver in this class coming out. And if he's this generational talent, then why are we not acting like it? I think Kyler and him are going to have much better connection this year. For whatever reason, the Cardinals' passing game looked very stagnant and not coordinated last season, but I think they're going to have it ironed out for this season. I think Kyler and MHJ will take that next step, and I think he's going to be a very good value come season time. Next is long-tenured Davante Adams heading over to the LA Rams for his first season with Matthew Stafford. I think he's going to be an excellent complement to Puka Nacua in this offense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams become a lot more pass happy. This season. I could see double-digit receiving touchdowns for both of these Rams receivers. Love Davante Adams in the spot, despite him being a little bit older. Next up, JSN. Obviously the number one receiver on the Seattle Seahawks. But with that being said, I don't know how great of a situation this is, right? You guys know I'm pretty low on Darnold this season. I know Jason had a very good 2024 with Geno at quarterback. I think he's going to take a bigger dip than people are realizing. So I'm a little bit weary of JSN, but situation alone, talent alone, he finds himself in this wide receiver 2 poster boy tier. Next up, Terry McLaurin, obviously stud in Washington. Should continue his connection with Jaden Daniels. So I don't know why he's not a sexier pick than he is. It just feels like there's question marks around his consistency and what his floor could be, especially with Debo coming to town. I think Debo's going to take a lot of those short around the line of scrimmage touches. Basically gets Terry McLaurin into the intermediate and deep stuff, which is not a lot of what Washington does. So definitely a couple question marks around Terry, but he safely finds himself in this tier. Mike Evans, no explanation needed. Guy does it year in, year out. 1,000 yards, touchdown guy. His only question mark is his age, and he's yet to let it stop him so far. Last guy in this tier, Cortland Sutton. This is another guy I'm pretty bullish on this year. Had a great season in Bo Nix's rookie season at Denver. And I'm expecting nothing to change, right? There's really nobody budding for his role. Everyone's trying to get those ancillary targets. He's the clear alpha dog of the Denver Broncos. I'm expecting a high target season for Cortland Sutton, and I really like his value right now as he rounds out our wide receiver 2 poster boys tier. This next tier I have named the Sneaky Bunch, and this is a group of guys who you're feeling really good about if they're your wide receiver 3. Some question marks to be the wide receiver 2 for you, but I've just got a sneaky feeling that a lot of these guys are going to outplay their ADP one way or another. A lot of these guys are in really, really good situations with clear roles, clear expected volume. So I think these guys can be really sneaky in the 2025 season. They're just not quite as talented as the wide receiver 2 group is. And that is Ted McMillan, Juwan Jennings, Travis Hunter, Chris Olave, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, Calvin Ridley, Zay Flowers. Starting off with Ted McMillan, his role is very, very clear. Number 1 wide receiver in Carolina. It's just a matter of will Bryce Young make the leap and be able to produce at a high level to sustain some wide receivers in fantasy. Next, we have Juwan Jennings. And there's a lot of question marks with San Fran's receiving core. Brandon Ayuk, is he going to be healthy off the ACL? Ricky P, he's a little unknown coming into his second season. The staples are going to be George Kittle and Juwan Jennings. And I know Brock Purdy loves Juwan, especially on third down, especially in the red zone. I think he has a clear role on this team and is going to be a sneaky guy in fantasy. Next up, Travis Hunter. Obviously the question marks. Is he going to play offense? Is he going to play defense? How much? But I think he's such a dynamic athlete. They are going to get him the ball 8 to 10 touches a game, one way or another, whether they're dialing up specific plays or just finding him over the middle to make plays after the catch. I think Travis Hunter is going to be more involved than people are thinking. Chris Olave, obviously a guy with lots of question marks, but the talent is unreal. He's got the concussion problems. He's got the quarterback problems. New Orleans is probably not going to be a very good offense, but you don't have to be a great offense to score fantasy points. Obviously it helps, but we have seen plenty of productive wide receivers in bad offenses. So I think Chris Olave could have a bounce back season if he stays healthy. Devontae Smith, another one of those guys who is super, super talented. It's just the same argument as A.J. Brown. Is there enough passing volume to go around? As we saw last year, there really wasn't to produce high-level fantasy points, but Devontae is just such a talented guy. He can't go any further past in the rankings. He has proven to be a very reliable guy for Philly. Next up, Jacoby Myers. I'm very bullish on him this season. I think his situation is excellent. I think Jacoby Myers could be Geno's JSN this season, peppering those short to intermediate targets, letting him run after the catch, a big PPR guy. Very bullish on Jacoby Myers this season, as well as Calvin Ridley. I think they're both going underrated. Calvin Ridley's the bona fide number one in Tennessee. Cam Ward coming into town. I think there's going to be a spark to this Tennessee offense this year. I think Calvin Ridley can get back to his top level play that he had in Atlanta. And last guy in the tier, Zay Flowers. He's not a guy you're super excited to go out and get unless it's PPR. Obviously very explosive after the catch, but just not a non-factor in the red zone. So touchdown upside is limited. But Zay Flowers is the number one guy for a very good Baltimore offense, and he rounds out our sneaky bunch tier. Our last and final tier to round out our top 36 wide receivers is the WR3 Poster Boys. And these are guys that if they're your wide receiver 4, you're feeling pretty solid about your group. But if they're your wide receiver 3, there's definitely a path to success. There's just quite a few question marks regarding these guys. And they are George Pickens, Jordan Addison, DK Metcalf, Khalil Shakir, Stephon Diggs, and Rome Odunze. Starting with Pickens, obviously the trade to Dallas helps him, boosts his value a little bit. And I think Dallas will remain a high pass volume offense. So maybe George Pickens needs to rise in these rankings a little bit. I just don't trust that he's going to keep himself out of the doghouse. He's going to make silly mistakes on and off the field. But on paper, being opposite CeeDee Lamb with Dak Prescott at quarterback, this situation is excellent for George Pickens. We just have to see if he actually takes full advantage of this situation, because if he does, he can way outplay his current ADP. Next, Jordan Addison should be the clear number 2 in Minnesota. It's just a matter of questions with McCarthy. Obviously, Hawkinson will be his first full season back, so he will definitely be taking some more of the target share. And Addison is one of those guys who just doesn't really get plays drawn up for him, with Jefferson being there, obviously. It doesn't feel like Addison's ever the first read, which is a real bummer because he's a very talented guy, obviously, but it definitely limits his projected value. Next, DK Metcalf, obviously traded to Pittsburgh, is the number one guy now that Pickens is out of the building. This is whether or not Aaron Rodgers comes and plays quarterback. If Rodgers comes over, DK will probably get a little bit of a bump for me, but I'm just not very excited to draft a guy who hasn't been very consistent in the past. It's going to be on probably a bad offense that wants to run the ball a lot. I don't see very much volume. I'm just not excited to draft a guy in this situation like DK Metcalf. Next up, Khalil Shakir. And this is a guy that you're going to want in PPR. The clear number 1 target in a high-powered Buffalo offense. Has made great strides in each of his last 3 seasons. I expect nothing to change. A very, very reliable guy for Josh Allen, who is going under the radar as well. Next up, Stephon Diggs, coming off the ACL. Obviously, there's question marks if he'll be ready to start the season. If he is not, then we'll have to drop him down. But with his current ranking, I'm predicting he'll be ready to go by the beginning of the season to be New England's number 1 wide receiver. And final guy, Rome Odunze. Obviously, we're expecting a little bit of a bump, but like I said, very crowded room in Chicago. And we're expecting DJ Moore to be the top target getter. So what does that leave left? We're hoping a lot for Rome Odunze heading into his sophomore season. We're expecting Chicago's offense to take a bump with Ben Johnson coming to town. We'll have to see if it comes to fruition. In this moment, Rome Odunze finds himself in the WR3 Poster Boys tier. All right, there you have it. There are my top 36 wide receivers with tiers. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who are you bullish on for the 2025 season? Who do I have ranked too high or too low? Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, make sure you smash the like button and the subscribe button so you can stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for next week. We have the running back rankings dropping. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the support, and we'll catch you next week.